Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Buds and Blue Jays. I'm your host, Jesse Burrell, and I am joined by my co-host, Riley McCullough. And Riley, the Blue Jays are an absolute mess right now. After losing both their games in New York against the Yankees, the Jays have now lost 7 of their last 9 ball games, have a record of 17-15, and we're 6 games back in the AL East. Yikes.
Dude, things unfolded so bad for us this past week and a half, man, and it didn't help. We got swept by the Yankees in a 2-game series, man, and it wasn't in good fashion either. They were ball games we could have won. Yeah. They were ball games we should have won. We're just not playing the Blue Jays baseball we should be right now. Let's be honest with each other, man. Comes down to pitching needs to be improved. It comes down to hitting, and hitting extra base hits needs to be improved, and base running. And just did a small sample. Like, there's a lot of things this club needs to work on. We're a good team. We got to play like a good team, Jesse, and we just haven't.
That's the thing. That's what hurts the most, is that we know that this team can perform better than they are doing. And the fact that they're not doing it is probably the most frustrating thing here. A quick little recap. Game 1, the Jays lost that game 6-5. The Blue Jays at one point had a 96.3% chance of winning this game. So that makes it hurt even that much more. Giancarlo Stanton had a cheap 3-run home run, and Aaron Judge hit the 3-run walk-off home run against Romano in the 9th. Game 2 wasn't that much better. The Blue Jays struggled to hit again with runners in scoring position and whatnot. Gleyber Torres had another cheap 3-run home run, and the team just couldn't mount a comeback here late. And Riley, I know we usually like to start our episodes with thumbs up, but I kind of want to start this episode with some thumbs down here. Good? Ready to go with that?
Yeah, I can work with that. Hopefully we're not doing this too often throughout the year, man. I hope word gets out and the Jays turn around, because hell, we need it, man.
Yeah. All right. So first thumbs down, we got to dive into this. We're giving one to the whole team right now. Because, look, this team is playing incredibly bad baseball over this past week, and you can see it all over the diamond. Vladdy is missing pitches right down the middle, pitches that he usually crutches. Lourdes Gurriel, Matt Chapman, Raimel Tapia are all still struggling. And you can see the frustration building with this team. Vladdy is smashing his bats into the ground and breaking them after he strikes out. Alejandro Kirk is falling down after the bag after reaching second base. Bo Bichette isn't taking an extra base after a wild pitch goes back to the backstop. And after loading the bases with 0 outs, we're only scoring 1 run off those situations. These are the fundamental things of baseball that this Blue Jays team is just not doing right now. And that's just really, really frustrating, because it's things you should be able to control, and it's just not happening.
I believe there's a statistic out there, and I don't really know how you would crunch the numbers on it, but apparently we are the worst team in history with runners in scoring position right now.
Yes.
Up to this point, that's crazy, dude. Baseball is 100 and how many years old? They were playing that in the 1800s, and we're the worst team with runners in scoring position, man. And look who we got. Guys who are hitting over 100 RBIs, or should be hitting over 100 RBIs this season. It's absolutely mind-boggling. It's so frustrating when we have the bases loaded with less than 2 outs, man. We should be cashing runners in big time.
Remember last year when Lourdes Gurriel led baseball with a 383 batting average with runners in scoring position? This year, he has 2 hits all season with a runner in scoring position. And I want to give you that exact stat there. Remember in 2021 when the Blue Jays were the most unclutched in franchise history? Well, the Jays somehow got even worse this year. Here's that stat you were talking about. The Jays have a 181 batting average with runners in scoring position, which is dead last in baseball. The Jays have a TOPS plus. Now, this is a stat where it's comparing a team to itself. So how it normally hits versus in a split situation, which in this case will be runners in scoring position, of 64. So we are 64% worse with runners in scoring position than we are typically as a whole, which is the worst of any team in MLB history ever. Ever. This team needs a shakeup drastically. And Riley, my question to you is, how do we do it? Do we call a players only meeting? What does Montoyo have to do to give this team some life? Is it on to the players? Do you make a lineup change? What is it going to take to get this team to bounce back around here?
Honestly, I think Charlie Montoyo has done a great job up to this point. I don't know what goes on in that clubhouse, Jesse.
Right.
We talked about this, how you grade a manager. For me, Montoyo is I think keeping his heart's in it, man. Montoyo knows that this team can win. Charlie Montoyo wants to win. And I don't know how hungry the players are, to be honest with you, man. Yes, Bo Bichette had a good series for sure. Yep. Multi-hit game today. But, how much is his heart in it? Check it out. Vlad getting frustrated, things like that. A players only meeting would be great. Still a young team. Like who's the veterans on this? Is it going to be Springer do the talking? Like the veterans got to step up here, hone in a little bit, and we got to figure it out, man, because there's no way we can win games off hitting solo home runs, which, you know what, Jesse? We haven't even been particularly good at hitting the solo home runs, let alone there's no one there, one run and with the swing of the bat hit at 410 feet. That's great. But we go out and give up 3 runs the next inning and we get the bases loaded, or even a runner on second base. If we can't move them over, we can't cash them.
Mm-hmm. Every team does go through these slumps, but what separates the really good teams from these bad ones is nipping it in the bud when it happens. Like I said, Jays have now lost 7 of their last 9 ball games. That's enough. If the Jays have serious aspirations of wanting to win the AL East this year, they got to get this going now. Now, I will say, it is still early. All this caveats. This team is too talented. This is what Charlie Montoyo said. He said, this team is still talented. Once they get going, they're going to get going, and it's going to be just fine. But it's been like 9 games now, and you really want to see something a little better here.
As a Jays fan, you just want to see results, and it's so frustrating to watch good pitchers get lit up and good hitters get sit down at the plate, pop it up, not score runs.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
It's frustrating, man, as a fan.
Yeah, I do want to give, and we'll talk more of this as we go. Hopefully, can bounce around next season. I do want to talk about Yankee Stadium. Now, this might ruffle some feathers, but look, Yankee Stadium is a joke. It's a little league ballpark. Giancarlo Stanton's 3-run home run he hit in the first game here was a home run at Yankee Stadium and no other ballpark in the major leagues. The Gleyber Torres 3-run home run hit today was a home run at 7 other ballparks and went 361 feet. For reference, Matt Chapman hit a fly ball today, 390 feet, and it was caught for an out. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. today hit a fly ball, 374 feet, caught for an out. Bo Bichette crushed a rocket. Now, that one went a little foul, so it's not quite the same, but still hit it harder than that. Didn't get on base for it. I feel like the Yankees, more than this year than ever, seem to be getting these short porch home runs. And it's not just the Blue Jays either. The Texas Rangers were just in the Yankee Stadium, and their manager, Chris Woodward, was griping about it, about how the Yankee Stadium they're taking advantage of this little short porch, which I guess you can't blame them. They have it there. I don't know. It just feels dirty to me, and it feels like it hurts even more when those ones just go over to the right field fence there.
If Curtis Granderson can hit 40 home runs a year in that right field, yeah. I'm good for at least 12 home runs at Yankee Stadium a year. It's ridiculous, man. It is honestly ridiculous. You look at some of these ballparks, and hey, I love baseball because of that. I think it's one of the most beautiful parts of the game. Mm-hmm. You got Fenway, you got Wrigley. Rogers Center is it's still a hitters friendly ballpark. It's symmetrical, which I love symmetry in a ballpark. Sure. And then you got those big ones. You go out to Houston in center field. They took that hill out of there. Yeah, I love that hill. But ballparks are meant to be weird. And you know what? It sucks that the Yankees are taking advantage of this.
Yeah, I mean, the argument Yankees fans are going to make is well, both teams play in that ballpark. If we're hitting it out to that far, why aren't you hitting it out to that part of the field too? Which I get, yes, and maybe I'm just frustrated because the Jays couldn't do it. But man, I don't like seeing Yankees getting rewarded. They've got enough, none of this woe is me Yankees fan. And the fact that they're off to this hot start just grinds my gears even more.
Yeah, same with me, man. It's enough is enough. They'll never change it though, dude. They'll never change it.
I want to give a third thumb down to the MLB umpiring and to the baseballs in general. Now, I'm going to walk you through what happened in game 1 of the series. I'm sure a lot of you have already seen it, but if you haven't, here's what went down. Josh Donaldson came up to the plate in his first at-bat, and I guess he had some words with our catcher, Tyler Heineman. What was said exactly, we don't know. Later in the game, Giancarlo Stanton hits that cheap 3-run home run we talked about to tie the game. Josh Donaldson was the next batter up, and Jimmy Garcia comes into the mound to pitch. On the second pitch, Josh Donaldson gets hit. I don't remember exactly where it was, in the arm, in the upper body somewhere. And the umpires get together and they realize, yep, that was intentional. And they kick Jimmy Garcia out of the game, which first of all is stupid because it's a tie game 3-3 in the 6th inning against a division rival. No one in their right mind would throw directly at an opponent to put the go-ahead run on base. That's just stupid. Charlie Montoyo gets tossed. Pete Walker gets tossed. All that. It goes bad. The very next inning, Jonathan Loaizaga is in, and Bo Bichette takes a pitch up and in that he had to duck out of the way for, and yet nothing from the umpires there. If the umpires are setting precedent that these teams are throwing at each other, then you got to think Jonathan Loaizaga needs to be ejected for that pitch he threw up and into Bo Bichette. And it's just ridiculous to me, man.
Do you have the quote with you, Jesse, that umpire actually said? Because there was a part I can kind of decipher part that was in that quote. He basically said, and if you get there before I finish, that's great. He basically said that he'll let guys throw up and in all day. Just when you hit a guy, you got to kind of pay the price. So here I'm thinking, Jesse, that hell, I'll just keep brushing hitters back. Like I can come this far from hitting them. But, I'm just going to scare the crap out of this guy. I'll throw up and in first pitch fastball. Then I'm going to back him up. If I'm a righty, I'm going to throw a two-seam at a righty and make him back out of the way. As long as I'm not hitting him, I'm okay. I'm still getting the point across. And you know what? That's going to cause more chaos than anything. The more times you're creeping inside, if one pitch to settle a score and then ends it, that's great. But when you start letting guys get away with that, we saw it. That game, I don't know how many years ago, where Aaron Sanchez comes in with the two-seamer and hits Buddy in the knees, gets ejected. I mean, some umpires, man, I don't feel like they make judgment calls, but I feel like their judgment is very clouded, or they just don't know the game within the game. I feel like if Donaldson had a real problem with it, Josh Donaldson is the type of ball player that would have said something to Garcia for sure. He would have maybe not charged the mound, but he's the kind of guy that will stand behind the catcher and point and say, I didn't like that or whatever. Things like that.
Yeah, I have the quote here. I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit because most of the thing was stuff I already said. But the umpire said, given all the situation in that specific moment, we just deemed it to be intentional. And when that happens, we have to eject or give warnings. And we felt like an ejection was the way to go. Jay's upset at the pitch up and into Bo, leading to Montoya's injection, was asked about if there was intent by the Yankees. The umpire said, quote, that's the reason for no action taken. It wasn't deemed intentional. It was just a pitch inside, which they can still do. Pitchers can pitch inside all they want. There was no intention deemed behind, therefore, so no action was taken, and the Blue Jays didn't like it.
So exactly what I said, man. He basically just, that umpire there just basically say, throw up and in at a guy, but when you plunk him, you gotta pay the price for that. Yeah. So keep that in mind. And I'll follow this up this season. If he ejects a guy for throwing inside twice to a guy in a situation like that and ejects him, well, then he kind of just went on his own word.
All right. Well, I do want to talk about the baseballs themselves too, which kind of led to the Jimmy Garcia hit by pitch. He's talking after the game how the baseballs are just so slick and they're tough to get a grip on. And Major League Baseball has been doing something about this. Jordan Romano, too, said the exact same thing after he gave up the home run to Judge, and which could explain why Jordan Romano's fastball was down about 2 miles per hour, as well as his slider was down almost 4 miles per hour. So as long as it's not some type of injury and it is just getting grip on the baseball, could be a problem. Alek Manoah complained about this in Cleveland. We've seen Chris Bassett of the New York Mets complain exactly about the same thing. And it's probably a combination of the humidors that the Major League Baseball has put into all these baseball stadiums. And in fact, I want to give you a quote of what Alek Manoah said about these baseballs. He said, and I quote, "They're terrible. I know MLB has a guy that rubs them up, but those balls were just right directly out of the box. Some of the laces were huge, some were fluffy. They were all brand new white baseballs. There is no excuse for this. And yeah, the balls definitely need to be better." So Major League Baseball has made some changes to the baseballs before without telling anybody. It almost seems like that's what they're doing again.
Yeah, we know that there's been a juiced ball in seasons past. That was clear. And I'm pretty sure the MLB said, yeah, we were doing something with the balls, tinkering. I don't like tinkering, Jesse. I don't like to mess. You know why frag grenades were the size they were in density they were in World War II, whatever?
No, man,
because the average American can throw a baseball. So they threw grenades the size of baseballs. And you know how the Americans did in World War II. So let me get this. So they were good back then in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. And then we get to, 70s were fine, 80s. And then we hit the steroid era in the 90s. The balls weren't changing. The players were getting more powerful. We're at a time now where guys aren't even juicing and they're as strong. We're doing steroids. Look at guys like Acuna, Tatis, Vlad himself. This is the best generation of young ball players. We don't need to mess with the baseballs, man. I don't know what they're thinking, man. We're still going to get multiple guys having 40 home run seasons, and we know pitchers are going to be hit hard anyways in this modern day game. I don't like the tinkering with the balls.
Yeah, I want to give you some stats to kind of back up what we're saying here. Here are the league-wide stats on barrels, which is the perfect combination of launch angle and exit velocity that is supposed to produce the most damage. From 2017 through 2021, if you hit a barrel, your batting average should have been 796 with a 2.726 slugging. Whereas this year, if you hit a barrel, it's only a 674 batting average with a 2.174 slug. So whatever changes Major League Baseball has made to the baseball, it is having a dramatic effect, and some of these things aren't carrying. So look, something's happening, and until Major League Baseball admits what it is, we're just going to kind of have to live with almost a dead ball era now.
Well, you know what? It's not like we're getting different balls for different, Yankees are getting thrown the same balls as us.
It's true.
I mean, we're not, Jesse and I aren't sitting here trying to make excuses. This is what's going on in the game. It really is. It doesn't contribute to the loss. Like, yeah, there are certain aspects that when our pitchers are saying this isn't right, then you start to have a problem. I mean, it's still not an excuse me for losing 7 out of the last 9, but we carry on, Jesse.
Yep. Let's try to get away from the negative now. I think we've made our points well enough on here. Let's move into some of the positive things that we can take away from this 2-game series in New York. First one here, Bo Bichette. Like, aside from his mental error in game 2 there, Bo Bichette actually had a really nice series. Picked up 3 more hits today, and he had a walk in game 1 too. And like I said, he barreled up a ball that just went foul. So there are signs of life to Bo Bichette's bat here, which the Jays really need a spark, honestly. And if Bo Bichette can ever get anywhere close to how he was hitting these last 2 years, it's going to be a good thing coming forward here.
Yeah, we need Bo to produce for this team to be successful. When he's getting 3 hits in a game, that's the Bo Bichette I know.
Yeah.
You take it all off the board. That's the Bo Bichette I know. I don't think he's going to lead the American League in hits this year, but I'm sure I sure as heck know that if he keeps playing the way we know he can, there's definitely an MVP vote in there at some point.
I hope so. Riley, who do you want to give a thumbs up to here?
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't take your guy. Of course, we got to give a thumbs up to Kikuchi. It sucks that he was in a losing effort.
Yeah.
I mean, he pitched 5 1/3. He struck out 7, which I think like in the last game. I don't know I don't have the reference number, but I know Kikuchi struck out quite a few in his last game too. Mm-hmm. He did surrender 3 walks, but only gave up 2 hits. And in 2 earned runs, and I read a tweet that was one of the most video game type innings that he had, because they just rallied in 1 inning against Kikuchi. But honestly, Yusei Kikuchi looks really good.
He does. It was a bloop single, and then they pulled Kikuchi for Jimmy Garcia, who gave up that 3-run home run. So wasn't on Kikuchi. Kikuchi looked awesome. That 7 strikeouts, it ties his season high here. And let's keep in mind, too, Yusei Kikuchi has only faced 3 teams so far this season. He's already faced the Yankees 3 times. He's faced the Astros twice, and he's faced the Red Sox already. So once the schedule eases up for Yusei Kikuchi, he could be getting some really nice numbers here throughout his season.
Compared to Brios in today's game, like Kikuchi is miles above him, and we have 3 new pitchers this year, including Gausman, and obviously Gausman right now is a whole league above those 2. But good on Yusei Kikuchi, because I don't know how I felt about him in the first couple starts, but you mentioning that he's really only faced 3 teams, the Yankees 4 times,
3 times,
3 times.
Yeah,
that's still crazy. Like, I mean, he's gonna have easier goals when you're playing the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. I mean, you're pitching to, a power team and a T-ball in a T-ball park, man.
Exactly. I think we both wanted to give a little half thumbs up to a player here, so I'll do mine first. I just want to give a shout out to Tim Meza. Didn't really do anything special this series, but I just want to give some love for how he's done so far in the season. He's been the guy behind Romano, has been coming in and pitched really well. He's only given up 2 earned runs on the season so far, and he's stranding 93% of the batters that are on base this year. I know the K rate's down, but the ground ball rate is much higher. So thumbs up for me for Tim Meza on the job he's done so far this season.
Yeah, and then we got to give a half thumbs up to Alejandro Kirk, I guess. Like, we'll just say he had 3 hits in the series, and it was a 2-game set, and it wasn't a great series for us. Kirk's still, splitting time between DH and catcher because Jansen isn't back yet. So, and he's still young. People, sometimes I even forget how young this team is. Kirk's still an inexperienced guy. So good for Alejandro Kirk. being at least a bright spot. He's putting bat on ball, man. And you know, he is good to watch up there. I do like when he comes up to the plate. I feel a lot comfortable than when a lot of guys come up in certain situations. Kirk puts bat on ball.
Yeah, good to see. Not only is he putting bat on ball, but he's actually driving the ball a little bit now too, which is what we wanted to see from Kirk. I got some news and notes here. Riley, Hyun-Jin Ryu will be back in this rotation, and he will probably be a piggyback starter with Ross Stripling. He's going to get the go on Saturday. Danny Jansen and Kevin Biggio have both started their rehab assignments. Kevin Biggio is in Buffalo, and Danny Jansen will be in Dunedin. And Blue Jays prospect Elvis Luciano, who you might remember from the 2019 season, who was a Rule 5 pick, who the Jays put in their system. He just tore a fracture in his pitching arm, so he's likely out for months, and you won't be hearing much about Elvis Luciano for the rest of this season. Riley, any big takeaway from those in the season?
Yeah, I do remember with Luciano coming up when he was like 12 years old or whatever he was on this. He was like 18. He was like 18 or 19 years old, and he had to suffer through being on that 2019 team, and that is a big setback. To have a relief pitcher prospect as good as him be set back that far, because you know, he's pretty well slated to be a relief pitcher. A lot of relief pitchers in today's game are just failed starters, and they usually don't get up to the majors until, you know, 28, 29, whatever. Like you hear guys say, oh, he pitched 2 years in AAA as a starter, got traded around a bunch. No, but Luciano is a potential guy that is a homegrown prospect. And now he has a huge setback, man. Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye and we'll see where he does. We'll probably touch more on him in the offseason as we go there. That being said, the Blue Jays now are going to have a very much needed day off on Thursday, and we are marching into Tropicana Field. Boy, that doesn't sound great to get our first look at the Rays this year. On Friday, it's going to be Kevin Gausman against Drew Rasmussen. Saturday, it'll be Hyun-Jin Ryu and Ross Stripling, kind of the piggyback there, against Ryan Yarborough. And Sunday, we're going to get Alek Manoah against Corey Kluber. Riley, the Jays never play well in Tampa Bay, particularly at Tropicana Field. How do you think we're going to make out this time?
Oh, I think in that first game, I think that Gausman kills Rasmussen.
Right.
I think he's just one of those starters that can do it, man. And I really, if Ryu gets the innings in, like I really hope he does well, man. I really am hoping for Hyun-Jin Ryu to really pull through for us. But yeah, all in all, man, like, the Trop isn't a good place to be a Blue Jay.
No, never has.
I don't know whether it's, a lot of people say the batter's eye there too, even with the roof. That's been a big thing. I don't know. I never got played in a ballpark with the batter's eye that wasn't like a scoreboard, you know. Like, these are professionals. They like what they like, man. You know, I just hope we come out of here. Like, I'd like to see, you know, a winning series. Honestly, man, I'm just going to call it a winning series, man. We need this, dude. Like, we're fighting in the division right now. We are slowly falling back. And you know what? I won't even say slowly. This week, we've been falling back hard.
6 games back now.
It's ridiculous, man. It could be a lot. Those were huge against the Yankees, man. Huge.
Yeah. Kevin Gausman, for what it's worth, is supposed to be our ace. This is what your ace is supposed to do. Your team is on a slide. You go in there, you dominate, you get your team back on the winning way. And I like to think there's no way the Jays are going to lose 3 Alek Manoah starts in a row, right? I think we're going to come back and win that one.
The numbers should be in our favorites. And I have a lot of faith in Manoah, dude. I have a lot of faith in Gausman. And I'm praying for Hyun-Jin Ryu to go out there and give us a quality start, man. Let's go back to the ground ball statistic. Like, hey, maybe Bo and Matt Chapman are just on their heels the entire game, and we can get 6 innings out of Ryu. And
that'd be great.
And you know, because his pitch counts down, you know, first pitch, second pitch, ground outs, things like that. Would love to see it, man.
Yeah, well, that'll conclude our episode here today. We went on a little bit of a rant, our first kind of negative episode of Buds and Blue Jays here, but that's the ebbs and flow of a Blue Jays season. We're going to get those high highs. We're going to get these low lows, and we're in the low of a low right now as the calendar turns into May. Make sure you like and subscribe to the video. We're going to be doing this all season long. If you have a comment or you want to react to us, leave a comment down below. We'll get to it there. You can follow us on Twitter as well. And yeah, Riley, anything to add before we get out of here today?
Yeah, if you're wondering why I'm wearing sunglasses, I've been working in the sun the last 3 days, and I got like raccoon eyes going on. I'm not trying to be Mr. Joe Cool here. I look ridiculous. And I didn't really want to like go out here because it looks like I'm about 3 shades whiter underneath these specs. You know, I thought I wouldn't, compromise my looks too much.
Well, Riley, you still look better than Bradley Zimmer does at the plate, so we'll give that to you.
I'll take it.
There you go. See you later, everyone. We'll see you after the Tampa series on the weekend.
Thanks.